Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. And hello, everybody. Welcome to the 234th Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with co-host Gubi K. And today's topic is nervous system healing. And so, Gubi, you were interested in coming back, and I want to say welcome back, first of all. I'm grateful you're here again. I always love our check-ins, and I'm really excited to hear what you have to say on this topic.
Hello, Milan. I'm so happy to be back. Hello to the audience. Yeah, so I'm Gubi. I'm in recovery from drugs and alcohol, bulimia, dysfunctional family, childhood trauma, isolation. And the nervous system is such an important part in that healing. That's why I picked that as a topic today. And I can trace my well-being to the state of my nervous system. And I think it's a big topic for most people in recovery.
And, like for myself, it wasn't really until I put all the drugs down that I realized how, and then also one of the things that's been a good lesson for me is starting to do yoga. Like where you're actually trying to, the yoga I do, I don't do a hard yoga. Like I do a yin yoga, but for myself, it really puts me in contact with where I'm carrying tension, and how uneven that can be. And it's like, one thing I found is that like I was a stimulant user, right? Like I was not a drug user. I was a stimulant user. And that state of fight or flight that it puts you in, it's taken me now over 2 years. I'm still learning how to sleep better again, through exercise, through diet, through stretching. Like I'm just getting myself back to what would probably be regular for a normal person, because I was just stuck in that fight or flight mode. And one of the things that was doing is it was like I was reacting to the world in a fight or flight way all the time. When you're stuck in that mode, like, and I'm sure that you know a ton more about this than I do, but for myself, I have felt just massive gains in like peace and tranquility versus the fight, flight, or freeze. Like one of the things that I can tell when I'm out of balance for a day is when things are getting really fast and really stressful, I'll catch myself not breathing. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, and I'll gasp and I'll be like, holy shit, like how long wasn't I breathing for? And just to break that cycle of breath puts me in it back into like a fight or flight state.
Yeah, I'm very similar in the things you mentioned there. I also catch myself not breathing sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I also did and still do a lot of yin yoga to calm the nervous system. And I even did some research on that. And they say that like we used to give our body, I was more a downer, although I did have my coke times, but I was more of a downer person. So if the downers are gone, you're not. So we give our body our drugs every day. So they need a dose of soothing every day. So we need to replace this with like repetitive soothing activities, like in yoga, like walking a dog, like can be massage, it can be anything outside. It can be many things. It can be even like hanging out with friends where you can be yourself with. And that daily dose is very important to be out of fight or flight. I was in fight or flight my entire life as well. And I'm still going in and out. So that's very...
Yeah, I don't know about like the environment when you grew up as a child, but where I grew up was an industrial city in southern Ontario, in Canada, and from the time I was 3 till grade 10, I had to fight once a week, like physical fight, just to sometimes to get home. Like if that doesn't put you in a fight or flight state, like that's literally fight or flight. Like it's the literal definition of it. And so, I think that that sort of training ground for myself as a child, right? Like I would call that trauma-based training, but that was one of the things probably why those drugs felt so comfortable for me was that I was
Yeah,
already used to being in fight or flight. So something that just naturally gets me right there to that highly agitated state, like that was what I learned how to be a human being in, you know?
yeah, in the environment I grew up in, there was no physical fights happening. The attacks were emotional, mental.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And there was some real stabbing going on as well. It was just not physical. Yeah.
But
And there were so
those
many
ones,
rules. Yeah, so many rules and so many things and so many guilt and shame tripping that
whoa,
I never felt safe. I never had emotional safety. That's
you
something
know,
I'm
it, it
now.
wasn't until my first step 5 that I experienced a guilt-free day in my whole life.
Wow.
Like at the age of 51 and a half, like that to me was like it brought so much joy into me that I was almost crying with joy for like a day and a half after that,
Wow.
which
Yeah.
was probably some real unwinding in my nervous system, right?
Yeah. And then this guilt and shame, I see it like many people do it, like I see my parents doing it, and they don't do it because that's just the way they used to. And and then maybe I'm doing it to myself as my inner critic without knowing it. So it's this
Oh, I'm
really
sure we echo that inside ourselves, you know.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Anything that we don't like in others is generally something we are struggling with in ourselves, right?
Yes, and I'm still telling myself I also have the difficulty falling asleep. And it's like telling myself, I'm safe now. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe.
Mm,
I realized I never felt like emotionally safe in my life. And that's a big
mm.
part of being in fight or flight all the time. So those things, I'm now 2.5 years. So we're very close, the sober
Yeah.
time. So it's those things come up, maybe not that right at the beginning, because yes, you have so much,
Mm.
but then they come up once you keep going.
You're
Yeah.
in July or August of 2023?
3rd of July.
3rd of July. Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, 3 months longer than me. That's amazing. And I'm happy to see you, free and clear and clean. It's you watch people drop off, and when other miracles are still happening, it means a lot. You know.
Mhm.
Okie dokie. Do you want to ask a question? Do you want to tell us what you've been working on, or how would you like to lead into this today?
Yes. So obviously, I continue with the inner child work. I think that never stops, and also
Mm,
a lot of nervous system work because I'm realizing that there were still things that I'm not happy. They're still bothering me, and so and especially social. That we come back to that again and again. So the first question is,
Okay, just wait 1 second.
yeah,
Before we start the questions, is I don't know anything about nervous system work. Other people out there might not. So just give us a description of what it is, how you do it, who you do it with, like how you learn about it. Like,
oh, I'm not scientific about this at all.
okay,
Is basically what I said before. We had our dose of drugs every day. Now we
mm,
need our dose of soothing. The things that the
okay,
drug does, it's soothing, it's comforting, you feel at home, you feel safe.
mm,
You need to get that stuff from something else. I'm coming to this in a completely non-scientific approach.
uh-huh,
Um, so what I was going here is it's a mixture of ingredients to be well, which obviously comes from eating well, exercising, sleeping,
hmm,
screen time outside, um, then the social aspect, who you spend your time with. Are you in a good partnership? Are you're in a romantic on work? And are you what are your influences, all those things. All those things together have an influence on your nervous system. And if one thing is completely off balance, many other things don't work.
Oh, yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah. So that would be the basic from a
Mhm,
completely non-scientific approach
mhm.
to the nervous system. It's
Yep.
like we need to come from fight or flight, as we talked about, into rest and digest. From the
That's
sympathetic
funny. I have
nervous
that phrase down too. Rest and
yeah,
digest.
to the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yep.
Because in fight and flight, we cannot digest, we cannot fall asleep, this scope's going,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's having all those little tips. I'm spelling out my whole, my whole.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's start the questions then.
Yeah, so the first one is very simple. What does your social life look like?
Woo.
When you
Uh,
were using and now?
okay. So my social life while using was definitely, I would call it transactional based. Like I wouldn't have called it that at the time, but I would call it going out with people. Maybe those people were using me, or I was using them in some sort of way. Like very. It was very substance oriented. Like there was very little convening without substance. In fact, because near the end I was on substance all the time, there was zero. And so
Your
that
substance was meth?
it was it was meth earlier in my life, and I managed to actually get rid of that one, and then it became like cocaine and alcohol. And at the end, much more cocaine and much less alcohol. Like I felt like with alcohol, uh, there was no faking being drunk. But I
Mm.
thought that I could fake being high and get away with it. And I look back at the pictures and I'm like, no, I was not faking it very well. So my social life was I've been in bands for years. So during my addiction was definitely practices and shows and hosting music nights. Like that was one of my main social things. And now really my circle is very small. I go to about 5 meetings per week, and I'm involved in those groups. Like I would say that is my social. Oops, sorry, we're whistling. Social life these days. I don't really enjoy playing in bands anymore, and that stopped before my clean time happened. I just am now more into recording music and creating songs, and I just don't honestly have anybody else who's really that interested in going in that direction with me. And so now mostly my life is spent, with my recovery community. I currently have 4 sponsees. 4 sponsees is a lot. Like it's as much as I can absolutely handle, and in some ways, uh, it's I got like 4 brothers that I'm trying to walk this path of recovery with, and that's an incredibly rewarding aspect of my life. My family life, our parents live here, as well as my wife, and my daughter lives part-time, but she's in Mexico a lot of the time. So like my family and my dogs, and then this morning, like twice a week, I have a friend who has a large farm. When I say large, like, it's probably like 250 hectares, which is a very large farm for here. Anyway, he built a sauna and has a cold plunge. So twice a week, we go walking in the dark, and then we sauna and then cold plunge. So I did that right before I came here, and although that is so what it looks like now is that my socializing is really all kind of supporting my growth and my health.
Mhm.
And I've almost eliminated all nighttime activities, because what I have found for myself is that in order for me to get 8 hours sleep, I must spend almost 10 hours in bed. Like I get up frequently and I'm really just trying to like I feel like I'm still almost healing from years and years of not sleeping. And that's part of, when you were talking about resetting like nervous system healing, a big part of that for me has been learning how to sleep.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so that's Milan's day in a nutshell.
So when you sleep, you wake up, you get up, you lie down again.
So what it is like I have fairly broad shoulders, right? I can't sleep on my back or my stomach. Like I just don't fall asleep there. So I'll lay on this side and then the shoulder will go numb
Oh
and I'll
yeah.
get up and I'll turn over and I'll go to this side. And then after both sides have been numb once, usually I have to get up and go take a pee and come back. And so, but what I've learned is I've got these little tricks where like, if I don't open my eyes all the way, if I don't put on this light, like I can get back to sleep. But it involves, like I track my sleep now with my watch, right? And and so I see that it's, every hour to 2 hours, I will have to get up. And if I've done a lot of physical activity, like we own a farm, so some days I'll have to run tools or something like that. If I run a lot of tools, I will be more sore, and I might have to get up and just like walk around my house once to get my body flowing and then go back to bed because like I'm 53 and it's like things get sore now.
Yeah,
And
it's great that you're sharing that. Like with the sleep, I also turn around and like I learned that if I don't fall asleep, I just stay in bed, do breathing, and
mm,
it's okay to wake up. And so I think it's good to let people know that that's things they're not
I
alone with
can't
that.
ha- I can't have caffeine past like 11 a.m. If I don't, like it, it used to be hard for me to fall asleep. And
Mhm.
now I can fall asleep really easily, which is such a blessing. But I just can't. Like, I'll watch my wife and she sleeps on her back and she can just sleep for hours. And I'm like, oh, if I could only sleep that many hours. But, so anyway, what I got pneumonia actually. I got sick at the third week of November, and it went into pneumonia. Like it's been really a crazy year here for that kind of sickness in Canada, and and it brought my energy level so far down. Like I was exhausted for weeks, months, even, and now I just said to the rest of my life, I'm like, no more night meetings, no more anything. I'm going to bed. I go to bed at like 5:30 p.m.
What time do you get up?
I get up at 3:30 a.m.
Oh, yeah, then that's really early because you have a farm. Okay, that's
No,
really early.
because if I get up that early, I get to do all my gratitudes. I get to do my readings for my program. I get to record a song, and I get to help one sponsee whose only time he can do the step work is in the morning. And then I go out and exercise.
Yeah. Well, I get up like between 6 and 7:30, more like that, and I go to bed at like
Mm.
10ish. Yeah. So the social life, coming back to the social life. So yeah, when I was times go out long because the substances give you the energy. So and that was also my social time, and it was sometimes with people I was close to, but often it was like very just with people I didn't even know well. It was not something that I felt good about the next day, like superficial. Let's say superficial would be the word. Sometimes it was also with people I knew and it was nice. And then now in sober life, my social life became like quasi non-existent. So it's meetings and it's yoga classes. And I'm trying to lately to add a little bit of things. So I'm going to a place where they sing mantras or doing a little bit other things. Well, I do like the meetings very much. I go usually 3 times a week, and I have an online ACA meeting, and I run an ACA meeting, so plus two ACA meetings. So that's definitely places where I can be myself. And that's the connection here with the nervous system. So before, I thought that it's healing is all about exercising, eating healthy, and sleeping. But then it never worked because I did not have that social aspect. That social
Oh,
aspect of, I was completely isolated. I was just using it by myself most of the time. So I didn't have that social aspect of being able to be myself around other people. And that is so soothing. And so that's like what safety feels like. And that aspect is super important for the nervous system. And I was just not seeing that. And until I like had that in my life, I could not heal. Yeah. That's why I put it in here.
I love that. I never made the association between socialization and that it doesn't surprise me, right? It doesn't surprise me, and that actually kind of leads into my question here. Can you lovingly surrender the idea that your restlessness is a character flaw and instead see it as a nervous system that is simply asking for the safety of a higher power?
So that a character flaw is
You know, I used to think that I was just like that. Like there was things that it wasn't going to change, you
oh
know?
yeah, yeah, I get it now. Yeah, like I used to be the person with a short fuse.
Yeah.
I was so explosive. Yeah. And what was not very cool, I was letting it out at like whoever was there. And then, of course,
Yeah.
it often goes at people who are really not at fault. I mean, so that made me probably unpleasant. And yeah, the person with the short fuse. And I can totally relate to that. So now that my nervous system is calmer, it's so good when something happens. You know, those dumb things like the internet not working, people not
Mhm.
responding to your messages, or like parcel not arriving. It's not even the hardcore stuff, these annoying things. I'm like, I'm not letting that destroy my good mood, you know. It's
Mhm.
not, it's nice when I realize a year ago or two that would have set me off. Now it doesn't anymore. And
Mhm.
I believe is in big part due to, yeah, the meetings, really sharing what's going on in my life. I think I'm trying to tell people that I work with, there's a profound human need to have at least a few people where you can share where you're at in life with, where you really
Yeah.
be yourself. I didn't have that most of my life. That's nuts. I didn't have that most of my life. I like you with the step 5 thing you said before, where you felt peace. I felt that um, I was 47 in that recovery place in Mexico. For the first time, I felt I could be myself in my entire life. I never felt
Yeah.
I could be myself before. And that, be yourself, to share what's going on, and then other people, and then people you see in each other's eyes that you're going through the same thing. People come up to you. That people know what's going on with you in your life.
Mhm.
That's important. For decades, nobody knew what was going on in my life. That's very dangerous. Yeah.
Well,
So
because you were too afraid to actually let them in,
yeah.
to trust them not to use it against you.
So for me, that is the answer. This knowing I can share with other people. They're not going to judge me, shame, blame, do the whole thing, because they humans like me and they get it. Having that changed everything.
You know, they say that the opposite of addiction is connection.
Connection.
And you know, like what you're talking about, however it gets worded, is really talking about connection, you know, and like
Connection. Mhm.
for myself, it was about 14 months ago. We were doing um, a podcast on enthusiasm. And what I learned is that like enthusiasm's here and it goes woo, And there's a line that crosses where enthusiasm turns into anxiety. And the rest of that spectrum is anxiety. And so when I looked at myself, I thought, like, I'm a pretty enthusiastic person. You see me, I'm kind of bounce around and I'm like pretty animated. Is that I never connected those two things because the enthusiasm for me is very positive, very positive, very positive. Now I'm worrying, and that's when it becomes anxiety. So just learning that fact for myself, it was like, okay, well, where is the point that that would turn to anxiety? And awareness really is the vehicle for change. So for me, it was like, oh, now I can see when it's approaching that, I need to back down on my enthusiasm so that I don't become anxious about something that was actually a really positive thing, you know? And so, like getting some acceptance for myself, getting more awareness for myself, and quite frankly, I'm I'm not sure, how much you work with the surrender part of step 6 and 7, but for me, it's been a real transformation in the last year to actually become entirely ready, right? And to surrender, humbly ask, the removal of my shortcomings. Step 6 and 7 has become a really big part of my life because I just kept beating my head up against a wall with defects that I was getting nowhere with. But just like my addiction, right? I I couldn't stop my addiction for 17 and a half years of when I tried, but once I surrendered it, I haven't been plagued by obsessive compulsive thoughts about substance in over 2 years, right? But being reminded that that kind of surrender is also needed for a lot of my character defects has allowed me to have a greater level of acceptance for myself, which has in turn brought more peace inside myself from that.
Mhm.
Do you have another question for me?
Yes. So, what is the importance of sharing your story? Saying that you don't have to share it on social media necessarily, but to like sharing.
Well, you know, okay, so I'm going to start with my songs. When I write a song, it's probably coming from a place that I'm currently learning about, maybe struggling about inside my life, inside my program. And one of the things that I found it amazing is to hear my own voice talk about what I'm thinking. And I can either be like, ooh, that's awesome, or that sounds ridiculous. And I can become a sounding board for myself. And so now transfer that to sharing like you're talking about, right? Is that sometimes just saying things out loud can bring an awareness to me of how petty a worry is to myself. Like how that doesn't actually even sound right when I say it out loud. Like it can dispel the delusions that I used to live by inside my addiction. And um now the more I communicate with others about what's really going on inside me, things I'm learning, and because it's happening all the time. Like, I have 4 days a week that are sessions with sponsees. Well, we're talking about some pretty deep stuff, like their life, my life, and most of my relationships with them, they're not like mentor mentee. They're like brothers walking on a path. So we're both talking about what's going on in our life. And even on podcasts like this, um, I feel like probably I know a lot more about you than a lot of people that I've actually spent considerable time with because when you tell me what's going on with you, I'm believing you're being honest. And sometimes I feel like we're being pretty vulnerable in the things we're sharing right now because this growth requires vulnerability to walk through that fire, you know.
Absolutely.
And so, like the importance of sharing can just be so that we're not alone in our struggles. You know, like sometimes when I hear somebody else say something, and I'm like, sometimes I'm reassured by my own mistakes, or what's the word I'm thinking of? Like my own flaws. You know, like to hear somebody else struggling with the same flaws I'm struggling with, it might not be identical, but it definitely somehow makes me not feel as bad, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm. And you?
Yeah, so it's very similar. Like for me, it's making little videos.
Okay.
So, oh yeah, by the way, I like that song you sent me about a phoenix. That
Oh,
was
yes. Woo.
very fitting for this background.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that came about in a very interesting way. So I was just started to post things, and I was always holding back. And then I always stopped. Like I did YouTube, I posted here and there on social media. And then on the parallel, I have this little group where I was like meeting with other people in recovery, and I was like the facilitator, and I was just sending little messages, and then it kind of self-developed that I was sharing very personal stuff there to get them to think about their own stuff. And there in that
Mhm.
little group, I shared like I can share now, like very vulnerable and free. And eventually I realized that's the way I need to share to the world, because as long as I'm holding back, it is kind of boring to the world, and it's not I'm not growing and healing in my recovery.
Well,
It
and quite frankly, people can see through when it's not real.
Yes, yes, and it kept me so long from from healing and growing in my recovery. I'm still having it's still not my name in it. It's called the golden sheep, because like having been the black sheep, now I'm the golden sheep
Oh, I like
because I'm
that. And it
growing
goes
and
with your hair.
yeah. So it's been so instrumental to share, to free myself. It's been extremely important. And I also believe that we all have a story to share. And there's always someone who needs to hear our story in the way we're sharing it. And then the same as you said, by being in the meetings and in the recovery world and sharing, it's like, okay, there's many people who have similar struggles. See, I didn't know that before. I thought I was the one who suffered the most. I was completely alone with my stuff, and it was so horrible. And uh,
The phrase is terminal uniqueness.
terminal uniqueness. And I was like, so many people. If you go to recovery, there's always a person who's done a lot worse than you did. Then it's just knowing. And even I would come to yeah, I made a video about that and it got taken down. I didn't quite fully understand why. Where I was sharing, it should be so normal to share about your story, whether it was young, middle of your life, or your whole life, that you were caught up in any type of addiction, that you can go back to the world and work, and you accept it, that doesn't include that from the world as it was when I was young. Like, oh my God, you have to hide it. You can never get to work again. No, today it should be normal. You share your story, you grow through that, and then we support each other. And I think that change in thinking is super, super important. It's not only healing on a personal level, it's healing on a like community, societal level.
I love that. That's amazing. Okie dokie. Are you done?
Yes, that means.
Okay. Okay, so the living clean notes that we often spent years in a constant state of war with the world. Well, now that the war is over, are you willing to surrender the armor of your muscle tension and allow your spirit to feel the rising freedom of being unprotected?
So if I'm willing after the battle to let go of my armor, the
Yeah,
tension.
to be open and unprotected in your life in that way.
Yeah, open and unprotected. Unprotected sound as if I would put
But it
myself
but
in
it's
danger.
but it's like, well, okay, could
Open.
substitute vulnerable. then.
Vulnerable. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, I get what you mean. Yeah, so we just keep the battle on even when the fight is over. I
Mm,
felt for so long that I lived in a mental prison. The door was open. I just didn't know how to walk out. So
mhm,
yes, I'm absolutely willing um, to let the armor drop and be vulnerable. And because that's how you make connections. It comes a little bit in the last question. That's how you
mhm.
connect with others. And I also, when I meet people, I'm often the first to go a little deeper.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and also I live in Tulum, so people are quite open minded here. So that's great.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you moved over to the East Coast this year,
Yes.
and are you enjoying it more there, or the same,
Yeah. I
or
mean,
have?
Sarita was great too. I feel more at home here.
Okay.
Yeah. But one thing that's great is that it's quiet where I live, and maybe I'm just further along in my development as well. There's Kundalini yoga here that I really wanted to study, so I really like it here.
That's great.
And the season
And
is seasonal. Like the meeting, it's always the same people. You know, remember
mhm.
in Salita, they're huge. That was a bit scary for me. And then they like, you know, and here it's like it's there's not you barely feel it that there's a season, which is easier for me.
Like you mean like how many people go to the meetings on there usually?
It can be between let's say 5, 6 and maybe 20 or
So
15.
almost everybody gets to share every meeting for sure.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I like that. You know, I came home and joined a couple small groups here, and
Mhm.
almost every time everybody gets to share. And for me, I find that important. Like, it's almost like an emotional check-in with those people that I love. Like, you know, if I don't hear from somebody, I'm like, how is Peter really doing? You know? And so, yeah, I've been part of small groups here. It's something like I've just been loving it. One of them too is a candlelit meeting, which I really like that aspect as well.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, I
that
mean,
if for the nervous system, for people to open up, the candlelit can't be beat, you know?
yeah, yeah, it's a small group. There's the same people, and then you really get to know the people. There are visitors, of course, and that's also my thing, probably to work on those meetings with so many people. It just has a effect on me still. Maybe that goes away someday. Yeah, but
So in reference to my question there, you know, what I found for myself, I did another set of steps in the last 5 months here. And one of the things I did in it was I looked at beliefs. And, you know, what I was finding was that a lot of my reaction to what people said was like trauma based from my youth. Like I would react angrily because I felt like as a child, if I was attacked physically or verbally, right, the quickest way to safety was to attack back. And
mhm.
so I was treating a lot of things as if I was being attacked, even when I wasn't. Like, even when it was almost really clear that other people weren't being that way. And I was really relying on old past trauma patterns. And so it's been something that I've been really trying to work through here. And you know, sometimes it means stepping away. Sometimes it means just shutting up, you know, like not responding immediately. And, you know, I've been working with this thing called two-way prayer that I learned after going to the Alcoholics
Yes.
Anonymous conference, and so I'm really trying to use love as the filter for my perception, you know, and looking at it that way, you know, first of all I can take care of is my reaction. So am I reacting with love? Am I perceiving with love? You know, and so that talk about the armor and the vulnerability is that, you know, love doesn't need to flex its muscles all the time. And it's been a real learning journey. But you know, the further I get in it, like life has just been very joy filled, very, very, very much contentment. Like the last 8 months might have been the best 8 months of my whole life, you know? And if somebody asked me, well, what made it so special? I would just probably say every single day. You know, like there hasn't been this big, whoa,
Mm.
look at this, or whoa, look at that. You know, like things come and go, and they've been good day, like good things and bad things. But overall, my perception and experience of it has been pretty, um, pretty steady, which I would never have said I was before. You know.
Yeah.
Do you have another question?
Yeah. So, what part of your nervous system still needs healing? And how are you dealing with that?
Well, I would say that my reaction part, is work in progress. You know, like I have not perfected my reaction to the world. Absolutely. Also, too, like when I was talking about the gasping in a highly stressful situation, I'm doing it about 1/10 of what I used to do, but I haven't gotten completely past that.
Mm.
um, Holding tension in certain areas. I try to create pretty regular check-ins with myself through yoga and stretching, and that really reveals to me where I'm carrying things, and then also just looking at my sleep pattern. Like uh, I am I am sleeping probably almost 4 hours more than I used to per day, which is
How much
like
did you sleep? How much did you sleep in the past?
I used to sleep like 3 to 5 hours. Like I slept really poorly, and uh, uh, so it's been like learning how to shut my body off, and it's so much better. Like, like I sleep in a much colder room than I used to. I have just a different technique with my pillows and blankets, and just my whole getting geared down to go to sleep. But I still feel like there's room for improvement. Like now, one of the things is my wife and I started eating healthier in like a very low saturated fat, like low cholesterol kind of way. And so now that has me kind of creating like portioned meals, right? And in doing that, my timing is kind of set out in my day of when I'm doing stuff more. And I'm observing like when am I sleeping better? Like when is it best for me to stop eating? Is it this far before sleep? Is it that far after? And I think I'm still fine tuning on that front. And
How,
and
how long before sleep do you stop eating?
well, right now it's usually between an hour and a half and like an hour and 45. And I would have thought I would have thought that my body would want a bigger break before going to bed, but it doesn't seem so for me right now. I'm still gathering evidence, I'll tell you, because I'm only started using my watch for the last like 2.5 months of this. Um, but it almost seems like if I am too far from sleep for eating, then I start waking up hungry in the middle of the night. And so that nighttime and one thing also too is maybe that will fade over time. Like maybe my body will be used to a bigger fast at night. So there's just variables, right? Because if I eat closer to bed, one thing that happens for sure is that, like the food spike and then boom, I'll crash. Like so
Mhm.
if I eat and lie down right away, I will be asleep within a half hour. I might not sleep the best all night, but it certainly sends me off better. And then I don't wake up hungry. So there's some real variables that I'm still analyzing, but I I was very surprised that eating farther from my sleep wasn't giving me much more benefits after everything I saw. Like you hear, don't eat before 2 hours before bed and blah, blah, blah.
Also, the size of the meal
It could be.
that
Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
eat light, you don't need, it doesn't affect you that much. If you have a huge meal,
but my meals aren't huge. Like I
but
said,
you said you into healthy
they're
eating now. So
portioned, like I'm talking like I don't know, a 300 to 400 calorie meal, which really isn't
I'm not
that
a
big.
calorie counter. I wouldn't know that. Yeah.
I I am now because it's just part of the mix. Like the four things we're kind of tracking are calories, saturated fat, sodium, and fiber.
Mm-hmm.
And and the fibers, like I don't even count the fiber anymore because the things that I eat have such a high fiber content. Like whatever the goal is for somebody eating in this way, I'm way past that every day, like on the amount. But I've always liked salt. And
Yes.
so a sodium reduced diet is something that I'm not sure I'm buying into yet. I'm still skeptical, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it as an effort to see how it changes my metrics, you know?
And what would be fiber-rich food? Just I'm interested if I'm.
Okay, like so fruits, most like apples. Apples have pretty high fiber,
Yeah.
pears, um oranges are medium. Oranges are medium for fiber. But so what I do is one of my staples now is I make this bean salad of like red kidney beans, black beans, onions, finely grated carrot, and apple cider vinegar. And that is just like fiber crazy, you know? So yeah, mostly that I'm my meat eating is way down right now. Like I'll have it in a few meals per week. And other than that, like my wife, she's been vegetarian for a few years now. And so one of the things is nice that she's kind of making usually our suppers. And so we're sitting down and eating together and she doesn't eat meat. So, a lot of them if I'm going to eat meat, I'll just kind of have it on the side and stash up some calories from snacking where I'll add mine in or something like that. Yeah, but it's the cool thing about it is that like I've done diets before where I stop eating sugar. So I can
Great idea.
identify like what sugar makes me feel like, right? But
Mm.
now from doing this and having days where uh, we don't eat this way, I know now the exact feeling of crappy fats.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
like this, oh, like, and it feels so horrible when you haven't been eating that for a while, and then you
It's
do.
so good though that you recognize it. I have that
Yeah,
with artificial white sugar.
yeah.
I immediately tasted, okay, I'm not drinking that. Like,
Yeah, so
protect
that's
you.
the two things. Like on sometimes on the treat day, whether it's like because one of the first days off this diet that I had was a friend's 80-year-old birthday, an 80-year-old lady, her birthday, and the theme for the party was baked goods. So it was absolutely treats and sugar. I felt so horrible at the end of that day. I couldn't even really sleep. Like I was like, "Oh my God, I'm dying." Yeah. So, but it's nice to actually feel those differences and then also to acknowledge that I don't want to do that all the time.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like I honestly am not at this point, I'm not interested in being perfect in any way. And when um like for myself right now, what I do is I allow myself every 2 weeks, I have a day where I just don't care. Like I just
A
don't
cheat
care. And
day.
yeah, but it's like, I refuse to, I refuse to feel bad about that day. And I refuse to villainize food. Like I've done that before in my life earlier, and villainizing anything, all it does is add shame and guilt to my life in some aspect. And I was raised Catholic, and I just
Yeah.
can't stand that
Yeah.
anymore,
Yeah. 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 There was a little Catholic in my raising too. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about you for this question?
Yeah, so what part of my nervous system are not healed yet? So I have to say it's like around food. So I had bulimia like my whole life, and that's not, it's much better, but I'm not 100% out of the thing. And it
And does
comes
that
in.
stop you from eating?
Now, bulimia is eating, binging, and purging.
Okay, okay. I've
And
never had it, so I'm just
yeah, well, good
clarifying.
for you. Many, many, many women have eating disorders, men too, but more women. And it started for like scared to gain weight, but now then it becomes I don't want to be full. This feeling of being too full is just horrible. So now it's like well, um, and so what I was seeing is that I still had a very, even though I was keeping the food in, I still had a very unrelaxed around eating. I was sitting down, I was getting up, getting something. They're getting this. Oh, I need this. Like I was just not relaxed. So I sit down and eat. Don't get up. Like this was one thing that coming up. Then around, I think it was like after the holidays, and it was colder here. Suddenly I felt like having eating attacks again. And I didn't know what to do. And then one attack happened, and it was so horrible. I can tell you it's the last attack. It hurt me so much physically. I was in so much pain afterwards. And also, maybe because I did not go looking enough, why did that happen? And that will be for the next question. It was linked to my purpose. So that's an important one. Then also with the food, and I know this is delicate and it might be disgusting for people who don't have eating disorders, but I was doing things like taking things in my mouth and spitting it out because I was scared to scared to throw up. Like in all this pattern around eating is gets you in a very tense place. So for me, it's really important. When I put it in my mouth, I eat, and what comes in stays in. Eating in a calm way. So those things, because it's been such a lifelong thing, are very very important.
And what
And
age did this start for you at?
14 I started overeating. 15 I started forcing myself to throw up, but I was controlling my food when I was 10. Like
Okay.
that was just 10, 11. It was just always a thing. And my family, you had to be thin. Yeah. So, and then another one would be, yeah, the sleeping, or we talked about it a lot. And then another one is I realized that I had like really OCD. Like the the thoughts just don't stop. And I have it a lot around work and planning. And it gets really obsessive. And I kind of understand that it's because when I was not well, I was either doing nothing or taking something to do something. But now I have a completely different life. I don't take something to do something. And it's like, because the first time I was sick in my recovery, it was completely horrible because I felt like I was using again because I was doing nothing. I was watching Netflix, and that was not the life I have anymore. That was very confusing. So I do understand in a way that it's the opposite of that. It's what created me being well, but it goes too far. And I believe that still the remedy to that is like social connection and those things. Yeah, like I, I'm starting, but like for example, I'm still scared to go eat with people. But I did go to meals with my recovery group though for Christmas, and so that was good. Or with some people I'm at ease, but sometimes I'm not at ease. Yeah, so that's something I still need to be working on. And I think it comes down to so yeah. Do you wanted to ask something?
Nope. I'm gonna wait. I want you to finish.
Yeah, yeah. So and then also another part of it is get like feeling really getting really really low and feeling like the death with wishing I was dead, and that is falling into helplessness and fear. And so thank God I learned there in the inner child work. That's just me being the inner child, and me being the loving parent, me being the person I want to be. I can handle things. And the interesting thing is because I'm working the steps again, so I'm like between one and two. So it's helplessness is if you cannot accept the powerlessness. Once you're powerless, you can give it up and you can get out of it. So that's an important thing I just learned very recently. Yeah. So I get myself more out of that thing. Yeah. And I think it's like a deep fear of all those things I mentioned, as it's like a deep fear of like being alone, dying alone. And because that's linked to the old way of thinking I was brought up in. When I'm now in my way of thinking, that I can handle things, that it's okay to accept, to admit powerlessness, then it doesn't look that way anymore, because I make the rules for my life. Like who makes the rules of life? I love to say that sense. Who makes the rules for life? It might be a higher power, and it might be me. Who else makes the rules for your life, right?
Mhm.
So that's a
And did you ever overdose in your journey?
on drugs, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had three overdoses in my life.
Were you awake for them or were you
Yeah,
unconscious?
I was unconscious.
And did you wake up scared that you had died alone?
No, that was not at all included in the overdoses.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just
they were
asking.
not. They were not planned. I was not trying to kill myself.
No, no, I'm not saying you were. I'm just saying, like, when it happened for me, I was unfortunately or fortunately awake for the whole event.
So how does that feel like? So you were out.
It was like the scariest, loneliest
You
thing
couldn't
in.
move, but you were present. Or describe that to me. I didn't know that was an option to be aware when
So,
you.
for people who overdose on downer drugs, you usually fall asleep before that happens.
Mm.
On my circumstance, it was like I stopped getting oxygen. Something was blocking inside. Like they think that maybe my heart had pounded enough against my rib cage that it was like blocking one of the arteries, like it swelled up and was pushing on itself. So there I am running out of oxygen and I'm like fading. I'm fading, and there was no light at the end of the tunnel. There was no like, welcome to God's band. Here's a guitar, Milan,
Could you
jump in.
still breathe?
No, like I was at this point, like I was fading from lack of oxygen.
Were you suffocating
Basically, yeah. And
and aware that that was happening?
and aware and completely aware. And like I went to the edge of like pure blackness. Like my near death experience had showed me no land of spirits. Like I would love to say that I have some different sort of belief now, and I'm not saying that I don't believe in our spirits continuing, but at this point for me, Milan as who I am was about to cease to exist. Like I saw the edge of infinity, and it was very cold, it was very dark, and there was nothing else there but me. And it was terrifying.
How
Like
long ago
quite
was that?
that was like so my clean date is October 1st, 2023, and this was the night of September 30th.
Oh, it was what provoked you to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that was enough.
And you were found, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds awful.
Ooh, okay, I've got a question for you here. We often become addicted to the chaos of our lives just as much as substances. Are you ready to surrender the highs and lows of drama and stress for the quiet, steady hum of a healed and loving nervous system?
Yes, 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 and yes.
Okay, you can expand a little on that.
Yeah, I get it. Like people get addicted to chaos. Um, I don't think my life is that chaotic. Um,
Like was or is?
mm, I think due to the fact that I was, even during my addiction, I was extremely isolated. It wasn't that chaotic. Um, I don't feel it was chaotic, and I don't feel it is chaotic now.
Okay.
Um, Because of isolation, and maybe because I'm keeping too much out. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to things when I don't know how I'm going to get back, or things like that. I'm not leaving too much up for chance. So chaotic, yeah. When I was in my last relationship, maybe there was chaos. Yeah. But on my
Yeah.
own, no. Yeah. So yeah, I just don't think I don't think I have that addiction to chaos. Um,
I definitely did for a bit,
and
like,
how did that show up? Explain it to me.
oh, okay. So, what I've come to realize is that, first of all, near the end of my addiction, I really created a victim mentality, like, the pity party. And the phrase I use is that I performed emotional amplification in order to enable using. So if you said something to me, Gubi, and you were, who I was with, I would get way more mad at you than I should. Why? Because that then I could be like, well, fuck Gooby, she just hurt my feelings. I'm going to use. Or like if you said something that was made me sad, I would be so sad. Like I would mourn your mom more than you at your own funeral because it would just let me go on another bender. Or, oh, it's Gooby's birthday. I would celebrate your birthday like it was the coming of Christ. Like I'd be like, woohoo, let's go. Like I would, and so I realized though that like that just it just perpetuated my ability to use. And so then coming out into recovery and doing my steps and looking at myself, I really saw that that I was just passing my serenity like it was salt at a table instead of like this priceless thing. And so part of, the my journey in recovery has been to stop that, to take ownership for my reactions, but also to bring an awareness of reality of when I'm doing that. Like there's just times where things aren't like my reaction is not a justified reaction when it's just taking me down my old trauma-based pathways, and so now, like my surrender of my addiction was the first speck of peace I had probably felt in decades, like actual serenity. And that feeling to me now is like a priceless feeling that I'm trying to grow in my life. And so it's just been a real journey of learning to nurture instead of like excite, like I used to be 0 or 11. And
Mm.
I would call serenity to me like a 6 or a 7. It feels better than just a 5, but it's just, it's nicely in the middle, and it's something that I try to cherish and foster in my life now.
Okay. I'm getting more where what you wanted with that. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good with not being reactive anymore. I catch myself more when I go into this reactive state. But yeah, I get what you mean, and
Mm,
that will trigger the more chaos. And it's actually a
yeah.
funny thing. So on Christmas is still the hardest time for me, and I had planned to go to an event, and like, what was it? Something breathwork yoga in that sense, and then it got canceled the last minute, and I'm like, thank God I'm aware enough. I'm like, no, she wants to go to a different day, and I'm like, no. I'm like, that poor lady had no clue what she triggered in me. Like on Christmas, you're canceling last minute. You have no idea what you triggered here. I was like, oh, I could sense that could have gone into chaos. Yeah. But thank
Mhm.
God I just said, no, thank you. It's okay. But yeah.
Well, like one of the things that I'm realizing is that on this journey of healing, right? We're still going to make a lot of mistakes, but first of all, like we're coming in with the intention of being better. Whereas inside my addiction, that intention just wasn't there. Like it was really just more self-centered. And
Yeah.
but not only am I showing up with that intention of trying to heal, but I now have an awareness of when I'm starting to go off,
Yes,
in what
that's a
different
big,
way.
big,
And
that's such a big thing. Yeah.
and it's a process, like just like my guitar. I couldn't play what I could play on it now. The first
Mm.
week I grabbed the guitar, but I am practicing. I'm practicing living a different way. I am practicing reacting with these principles, and slowly but surely I'm becoming more effective with them. And it might be a lot more slowly than I want, but that's the way that life is. That's, like I've come to have this saying in the last 3 months for myself is that patience is surrender in real time. So for me, surrender is a big goal in my journey. Acceptance, surrender, you know, patience is pulling that off right now.
Yeah.
And and so when I find myself being impatient, sometimes I just have to say that sentence to myself. And it just recalibrates. Oh, well, what's my intention? Well, my intention is to actually be nice and to surrender, you know? Do you have another question for me and for us?
Yes. So the next question is, are you aligned with your purpose?
Woo! So, I look back and I don't think I actually had a real purpose other than to be like the biggest partier of all time in my addiction. And now that's one of the things I think I've gained from this program. Like for myself, my life purpose right now is learning to love completely, to develop, as total of a surrender as I can, to forgive as quickly as I can, and to grow in acceptance. And if I can do those four things, everything else is inside. Like if I am really truly loving, then I'm already being honest, then I'm being patient, then I'm being kind, then I'm keeping no record of wrongs. So it's like I am aiming at the direction of that purpose. And however much I falter, I'm human at this point, right? But I am trying to align my actions and my words in line with that. And it's going to be work in progress the rest of my life. Like it took me 51 and a half years to be who I was. And 26, 27 months is not long enough to completely reroute my entire spiritual being. It's enough to plant the seed for it. Like I would say that I've got a little seedling tree of spirit this big, and maybe it's going to grow into a big, fine, strong maple tree or oak tree, but it's going to take time to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. You're really about how you will show up, your purpose and how you show up. Well, that's an important part of my purpose. You're
Hmm.
already doing work in recovery. For me, it's really building, like helping other people in addiction and eating disorders and people who have an inauthentic life with the stuff that I struggled with. So I see that, of course, it's also by me living a certain way, absolutely, like honest and vulnerable and all those things. But I also, um, because I'm still like, my income still comes from family business, and that's something I'm not that thrilled about, but it is like that for now. And that was why I had that bulimia attack came up because I was kind of stuck. And so now I'm starting this modality Star Magic. So it's like a energy of frequency healing. In very short, it's like instead of like attacking the disease here, you elevate the frequency of the person so that it cannot exist here.
Mm-hmm.
So and then this whole connection came. Okay, just start working for free. Just ask anyone. At first, I didn't know who to ask. Oh, like I was like, I think I was just too scared to ask. So, and I was just training with one person who did the course with me, and now I ask anyone. And since I'm doing that, even though it doesn't involve money, I feel so much better. I feel I'm on track again because I can add that to the work I already want to do with people recovering. So for me, it's very important here because I got clean late in life. I'm doing my things late in life. Like I'm living my purpose late in life. I hope I'm still alive, but I hope I should say I'm at some point experiencing a good relationship is something I want to experience before I die. I do my things late in life, and I found peace with it, and that was not easy. Yeah. So
It took a while for me to come to peace with the fact that I took me so long to get to recovery. And now I'm fine with it because I see that it was all necessary to be who I am.
yeah, it took me 5 years. So I want to throw that in here. I hadn't planned that, but I think it's important. Um, it took me 5 years to come to peace with the fact that I threw away like 33 years of my life.
Yeah.
And really threw away, like nothing to show for. And so once I was in this retreat, and I was walking with a lady who's the same age as me, so I'm 52 now, and she has a retreat center for years where she's helping people, so doing something cool. And in the past, that would have triggered me into I'm worthless, I hate myself, and down the downward spiral. But then I was like, oh, I don't have that anymore. Like I made peace with that. So but I am not wasting another day. That is very
No.
so that, and also I'm not stuck in that old belief system that I need to have, you know, all those things at a certain age, and the picket fence, the house, blah 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 blah. No, as I said before, I make the rules for my life, and that is a little bit different. So I think here's a good moment to ask, and I'm also learning to ask for what I need. So Milan, I'm asking you, and then I'm going to ask your audience. So if you want
Okay.
to, I need to do practice free training session for Star Magic. If you want to experience that, let
I
me know.
absolutely do. I love the word free,
Yeah.
but I also would just love to see where you're going because one thing I wanted to say when you were talking there a little while ago, and you're like, "Oh, you have a question," is your mannerism, your entire energy compared to the first podcast we did a year ago.
A
It's
year
like
ago.
it's like you are a brand new person now.
I
Like
am.
like your ability to externalize and interact is just profoundly different. So I would love to do session, or some sessions. I would love to just see what's going on and experience that. And maybe afterwards we could do a podcast recapping what the experience was like.
Oh yeah. So the great thing is this is remote. So
Mhm.
I connect on Zoom. So it doesn't, you can work with anyone anywhere in the world.
So could you give out, if you're willing to get people to contact you, can you give out some contact information of some way that somebody could contact you? We'll say it
Yes.
now and we'll say it at the end again.
Yes. So you can contact me on social media, on Facebook and Instagram as Gubi Colts, GUBIKOLTZ. And you can contact me on TikTok as the Golden Sheep.
The golden sheep. Borrego de oro.
Yes, and that to the importance of, yeah, being aligned with your purpose and asking. That was such a big thing. that I
Now,
do not
can you
believe.
describe this work a little bit? Because I'm not sure I understand it. So,
Yes. So
give everybody kind of a lowdown of what to expect inside doing something like this.
it's a frequency healing. So first I ask people a couple of questions about a little bit like lifestyle questions. And then I connect with their body as a hologram. And then I do the work on the hologram. So I'm go in a really relaxed state. It is very important if I facilitate healing that I'm in a very good state, connected state.
Hmm.
And then you just relax and let happen what's happening. And you might feel things, you might feel energy, you might feel things, or you might not feel anything. And it goes about half an hour to 45 minutes. So it's
I'm
not like
excited.
crazy long. Yes. And it is good if you can afterwards to not immediately rush back to the next thing,
Yeah.
especially if you go a
And
little bit deeper. Yeah.
how many sessions do you normally do with someone?
Oh, you can do a couple of sessions, but like I was going more for one session here, but of course, if people
Okay,
want more, I can do more. There's always a possibility to do more sessions. Yes.
amazing.
I personally have received more sessions from someone very experienced. Yeah. And it is
Okay.
important. I mean, you can always have a miracle healing and it's good after one session, but the lifestyle, what we talk about in this whole episode, like the eating healthy,
Hmm.
the sleeping, the meditation, all that stuff matters, of course. And what I pointed out, if there's something in your life that's really not right, like if you're in a job that you hate, if you know that your partner is cheating on you but you're not leaving, like things that are really not working, that
Hmm.
might block the healing because you need to resolve that situation first.
And the healing can't help resolve that inside you? I mean, I'm asking, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
It might, it
Hmm.
might. There was so we have a lot of healing sessions to like a training to watch, and there was
Okay.
one session, that's why I give that example, where a lady was just not capable to step into her goddess energy
Hmm.
and not let herself be abused by a man anymore. And then the
Okay.
facilitator said, as long if you don't step in your goddess energy, I don't know if I'm be able to do that healing. And also I can speak from my own life now, even long before I knew star magic. So
Hmm.
when I was doing my first run of the steps, it was from
Hmm.
1 to 9 because then I moved countries. I was in a relationship. I was similar. I was not cheating on me with another person. It was cheating on me with drugs. And I was in this relationship and he did things I was not okay with, but I did not leave.
Hmm.
And those set of steps didn't do much for me. And that's why then for a long
Hmm.
time, the meetings were super important for me. And I was like, I do inner work, I do other inner work. Like I just didn't. And now I'm doing it again. And then I did the ACA, the work, the inner child work, and everything changed because I was I was ready to be open and vulnerable. And now I'm doing the steps again. I know it's going to be an interesting ride. So that's why I know from personal experience and from that hopefully the healing can help you get stronger to fix that situation, but it
Hmm.
might not affect you. Um, if you're in a really bad situation, you might not get the facts, but at least it might be the first, how do you say, the first spark of awareness that you need to get out of that.
One of my biggest parts of my journey with the steps this time was with step 6 and step 7, and that becoming entirely ready, and it very much, what you just said made me think of that in the sense that, we have to have an awareness of what it is we're trying to surrender in that step. First of all, we have to have an awareness, but we also have to know what the fires are that we have to walk through to help that facilitate that change. And then we have to be willing for that to happen. Like a lot of people say, oh, I'd like my life better. But like you were just saying, sometimes it can require real physical changes of circumstance in order to facilitate that. And so if we're not doing our part, I could easily see that blocking doing what you're talking about, you know? Like for myself, a big journey for me this entire winter is forgiveness of myself. Like I realized inside my step work that I hadn't addressed my own lack of forgiveness for myself enough in my step work. And that's blocking me from letting myself not self-sabotage in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good memory. And also, like, if people are still stuck in like low frequency, eating low frequency food, gossiping, watching low frequency TV or things like that, um, they might lose it. Like if they stuck in this low frequency, hopefully the
Mhm.
session will help them elevate, get out of that, and connect and
Mhm.
realize they need to different things. But if you go back to low frequency living, it
Yeah.
might not last. So it's important to know that miracles can happen, but there's
Mhm.
also, you need to do your part as well. Like that's important. Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
Absolutely. Would you like another question from me?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, the NA basic text says that the heart of NA beats when two addicts share their recovery. When you sit in a meeting, can you feel yourself sync with the collective peace in the room, surrendering your isolation to the healing power of we?
I would say yes. I love the meetings, and
Mhm.
I really, sometimes somebody's sharing and you're not really connecting, but a lot of shares I really do connect. And then or when I'm sharing, I can see that on the eyes that the people, that they are nodding, that they are connecting with what I'm saying. And I think that is really something I love. And then also then that triggers your share or their share afterwards, and it's like a whole, I totally get that energetic
Mhm.
connection and share the meeting. Sometimes it also comes into discussions afterwards. So
It's
I'll say
amazing sometimes. Like, where else do you go in the world where you enter a room and at least in the space of addiction and living, that entire room has your best interest at heart. Like
mhm.
there's nowhere else I've been in the world where it has been uh, that same collective goodwill towards each other. You know, like I've
Yeah,
just been in so many rooms where it's like, hey, and the people getting welcomed coming in, and they're like, you know, and some people are just coming from a horrible day, and it's almost like the room just kind of hugs them in, you know, and gets them through that. And you know, for myself, I'll tell you, after you know, kind of getting fairly isolated in my addiction, it's an amazing feeling that I love. Like I love it, you know.
yeah, me too. I love it too, and it's really the tone. The tone is set in a very vulnerable way, and that is again one of those, it's just innate in us. If we share something, the problem is not solved, but it takes so much pressure off if you can
Yeah.
share it with other people. Yeah, and you know you're not alone in it, and you know people are going through similar things. That's just human connection again. Yeah.
Mm. Do you have another question?
Yes. So this is a little bit delicate, but I think it's important, so I threw it in
Um,
here.
okay.
Sexual healing in recovery.
Mhm.
So I discover like more and more when people have like sexual traumas in the early, it's usually in the early life, then later on what happens is the behavior that comes through that make it worse, and they traumatize themselves more and more if it's not resolved.
Mhm.
And then Another one here is, and I think it's something that needs to be brought in the recovery world. Another one is if their like sexual satisfaction has been linked to a certain drug use. So that is something they need to look at and like unwind and rewind, because at some point they're going to want to have sex. And if that is not resolved, so that's
Hmm.
another one. Then there is porn addiction. Yeah, I mean, often, and then there is sex addiction with another person, which often comes into codependency, extreme constant need for validation. So that can be like multiple addiction, or when you're out of substances, then that starts something to be aware of. And it can be the opposite, that in my case it was like complete isolation. So on all those, I would be the early life sexual trauma, and then it got worse, and then now I'm, and then the last one, the isolation. I don't remember what happened, but I know something happened because my behavior was really off. And also, I don't think I'm ready to dive like really, really deep in my stuff here, but I wanted to mention it because I think it's something that needs to be brought up in recovery places, combined with I'm studying tantra now, like
Hmm.
really sacred sexuality, seeing your body as a temple, taking very good care of your body, those type of things, and not, yeah, taking good care of yourself, and not
Hmm.
like um, wasting your energy around, going around. It might sound a bit strange, but like going around fucking people, not knowing what that's gonna be like. That's something
Hmm.
valuable. So all those things, it's something yeah, I'm gonna keep diving into.
And so I don't know what the question is there.
The
Like I know
question
you.
is, yeah, so yeah, I pretty much answered already my thing. Yeah, are you? Is there something you comfortable to share? Have you healed sexual trauma yourself, and are you comfortable sharing about it?
So I had something happen to me when I was young. Uh, to be honest, I haven't met a single person who hasn't in some way. There's something inappropriate has happened to everybody I know. Like I honestly, some people, for me, it was like almost traumatically blocked in my brain until actually like my mid-teens. And I was with a girl, she mentioned an event, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, something like that happened to me too. And I had blocked it. Um, do I think, how do I think that affected me like growing up? I think it created a hypersexuality in me. One where, my feeling of self-worth was related to my success in sexual events. And so that has been, that has just been like work in progress, because I spent a good deal of my life feeling guilty about sexual thoughts, right? And then as an adult, it's like, well, hold on, I don't think I should be feeling bad about this, But at the same time, one thing that I've learned in recovery is like, it's not a shortcoming if I just have the thought. It's a shortcoming if I act on it, right? And and so if I'm going to live in a society with other people and and claim to try to live in principles, then one of those principles, that the very first one, is honesty, right? And so it's my intention is not to hurt anybody. And so it's like I just can't let myself go around being slutty anymore. I used to rationalize it when I was high, in the same way I rationalized partying, but now I don't. And so, like I really I'm really have the intention to not go about hurting other people in my life. You know, am I willing to say at this point that I think porn is bad? No, I don't think porn is bad if the people involved in making it are okay with it. Because as far as I'm concerned, if somebody was like, hey, Milan, I'd love to pay you an exorbitant amount to come and make a porno, I'd be like, okay, that'd be great. Like, I don't think I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I mean, I think it's a lot better than somebody going out and cheating on somebody else. I truly think that not every aspect of who you are and how you feel sexually is ever going to be satisfied by one other person. So then if you're in a relationship that you're not going to go cheat on somebody and it's not open, then you have to be comfortable with a certain level of self-satisfaction, right? Like I would think. And for me, I enjoy the sensation of it a lot. So, yeah, I'm not sure if that answered your question, but that was my
Yeah.
response to it. Yeah, I might be blushing a little bit.
Yeah, I was talking about porn addiction. When it becomes an addiction,
Yeah. Mm.
it personally
But
think
the
it's
thing
very
about
hard.
it is that I hardly know anybody who can just casually look at it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, you know,
And like
most people are
for young
most
people,
people
they lose a sense of reality.
yeah, well, and it also creates the situation where people are just objectifying the opposite sex or the same sex if that's what they're attracted to. But
Yeah,
it definitely creates a situation where you can remove the reality of feelings, emotions, love, and how that love is actually part of the love making, right?
yeah. Like I used to think it's cool, like uh it's just something to add to a sexual life, but like it's only more lately um that I become aware that like young people they get when especially when it's like very violent and aggressive, it's like it doesn't portray reality, and then
Mm.
people have think they have to be like women constantly dripping, men constantly having a huge erection, and then they're very scared if they're not that in real life. They get very intimidated. They expect men and women to be like that. They don't know how to flirt in real life anymore. More in
Mm.
that sense was I was being
Yeah,
out
and I
great.
agree. That's
And
part of
yeah,
the objectification, though. It's like they're treating each other like sex dolls, not like actual,
yeah,
like
mhm,
tender human beings who you are sensitive to whether something feels good or not. To like, there's some porn that the second it comes on, I can't even watch it. Like I'm just like I don't want to see someone else getting hurt. I don't. That's
mhm.
just me, you know. I'm not comfortable with that. So, you know, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't exist. I'm saying if some people like that, great for them. But, you know,
Yeah.
mm,
And
yeah,
so I'm also answering a part here. I've kind of answered it already, but so this is more like because of that me being like going through life sexually traumatized and being in isolation, I got into that relationship. It was I met someone I met in rehab, and then it was again very traumatic. He was pretty much using the entire time, and that was not what we set out to do. I was taking small dosages of like mini dosages of ketamine and stuff, but using like a lot more. And with that person, I took fentanyl with him for 6 days, and I had 2 overdoses. I could have gone out that way. So that is like the severity of that. And because now I understand I had to go to that very traumatizing relationship to also um, see how much a person is self-destruct. It's a level of self-destruction I did not want to see. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Now it's going to make me a better drug therapist if you want, because I've seen that. But it was ugly, but I had to go through that to learn about self-respect, to learn about boundaries, and but what I want to connect here is the isolation because of my trauma and the isolation I was on. Otherwise, I would not have been in that relationship. I would have spotted that miles away. So that is an effect of the trauma that keeps snowballing, the snowball effect of the trauma. I'm explaining here, yeah. And I think
Yeah.
isolation, and then I always thought I was the only one that was isolating. So I'm sure I'm not the only one who's living in isolation and can have effects in life of getting out of that isolation. Yeah.
I think it's a very regular pattern once addiction goes too far because it's like we start to remove the people who might want to actually help us out of our lives. So there goes one group of people. Then there's the group of people that we just scare with our consumption who don't want to be around it. And then it starts to be like greedy never gets, and we just want to hoard our substance.
Yeah, like I was using by myself. I did not want to see,
Yeah.
like, I did not want to see other people going crazy or hurting themselves. I did not want to deal with that. God no.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I've got about 8 more minutes here before I've got to head off to work. And I'm just wondering, is there something else you want to say or one question maybe you've got that you want to ask or anyway, anything?
Maybe like a last interesting question I had written here is,
Yep.
did you at any time in your life live an inauthentic life?
Did I or do I?
Yeah. Did you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so I would say almost all of my childhood was spent trying to be this idea of cool that, like to fit in because I was like this very small person. Like, me as a full-size man, but
Yeah, you're
I
a big
was
guy.
like, until grade 12, I was like 5'4", and I grew 8 inches in 8 months. Like I went from being the shortest guy in the class to being a full-size person. So I was small, hyper, and wore glasses and just like felt like, the nerd, really, like that, just not popular. And so I was always trying to be who I thought people wanted me to be. And there was a point when I was about 23 where I was playing music. I was now in a band. I had dreadlocks. I was all like, I just built my first house. So now I had muscles. And for the first time in my life, I felt attractive. Like it was like I was 23. Like that's late for somebody for first time ever to feel sexy. Like, and, but also that brought about a confidence of being able to just be as weird or quirky as I wanted because I was in my brain. And that showed me that the more I was authentic, the more people liked me. And that part kind of stayed with me even through my addiction. But the inauthentic part during my addiction was starting to hide when I was using to people that loved me, you know? And that was very inauthentic. And I have to say now, like, I am learning how to truly share what I'm learning, who I am, who I'm becoming with those around me. And sometimes that conversation can scare the shit out of me, even if it's just like a philosophical thing I've learned. But it's okay. Like, I'm really enjoying that journey. And doing this podcast is one way that's actually helping me just be able to vocalize what I'm thinking and feeling more. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So for me also, I lived a double life. So
Yeah.
when I was using and I was working like as a teacher and I was working in the government and that was horrible. Of course, I was hiding like from everyone. Nobody knew what was going on in my life. And that was like the worst. But then still, of course, when you're using, you're always hiding. And then still in recovery, I realized there's so much stuff I didn't want to look back
Mhm.
until I did this inner child work where I wrote down years of my life and I had to really go back to places. Um, there was stuff I just didn't want to look at. So I spent most of my life very inauthentic. I'm only
Mm,
being authentic now. And I guess sometimes when I think like I want to say, is like make a joke or something, can I say that now? And it's like, yes, this is people, you got to be yourself. You attract the people that are your people. If I can't make a joke, then it's not, you know, and that's really what I'm go. It's not like I want to please this person or that person, how I've been going all my
mm,
life. It's like I'm authentic and I'm going to be attracting the people that are in that same realm, and that is so important. Again, so we're gonna close off with the nervous system. That is good for the
mm,
nervous system. Knowing that I know here I can be I can be myself. And know in my meeting I can be myself. So that knowing that I can be truly myself and people accept me, whatever crazy direction I'm going or inappropriate stuff I want to talk about. So
mm,
that is very, very important for me. And I think it's more, before I was like, oh my God, I like that person. I want to please that person. Now it's like, okay, that seems interesting. Let's see if we get along. It's like
mm.
looking how people are. But yeah, being honest, being authentic is very, very important to me, because that's the way to freedom and a good life and a healed nervous system.
A lot of times, what I will do now is I will make myself vulnerable, either through an expression of love, appreciation, or something. And by creating that vulnerability in myself, then it opens up a trust with the people around me that they can to be
Yeah,
silly, be loving, like, and if somebody like, I've had a man in one of the meetings uh, express like extreme homophobism, and he thought like I was like coming on to him, and I was just like, no, dude, you're not that special. Like what I'm doing is actually just being loving. And he couldn't handle it. And it's okay. Like it's fine. Like I'm not trying to make anybody else uncomfortable to make myself comfortable. Just like that's not my point. But the thing is that, I'm also not going to pretend for your benefit. I have a sponsee right now who's very happy. And some people are like, you're faking that.
I think, yeah,
And
yeah,
and and you know what? I told him, I said, never dim your joy for anybody, Bryce. I said, you might be the only exhibition of joy that those sad people have today. I'm like, don't
yeah.
pretend, you know?
Never
Yeah,
dim your joy for anyone and never dim your light for anyone. I like that
that's
expression.
right. That's right. Okay, so do you want to give everybody your information again here, Gooby?
Yeah, yes. So on uh, on Facebook and Instagram, it's my name, Gubi Koltz, GUBIKOLTZ. And on TikTok, it's the Golden Sheep.
There we go. And thank you for coming back, Gooby. I'm so glad you're here.
You're
I
welcome.
feel like we should even have one a little shorter time frame next time because I think we could have talked longer today. Um,
Yes,
but yeah,
yes.
I
I still have stuff left, but the important stuff we got it all done, so that's good.
I love and appreciate you, and I'm grateful for you being here. So
But thank you so
everybody
much
out,
for inviting me. I really appreciate coming and having those deep discussions. I love that stuff. Yeah.
I think it's great. Everybody out there, tune in next episode for more recovery fun. Bye bye, everybody. We love you. Please help us help others. If you like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.